What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? Matty P here with another episode of Steelers Touchdown Under. We're talking about a bit of a different topic today. Now, if you've clicked on that thumbnail and I've talked about a reset in media coverage, and if you link to the title that I've chosen to do, that's what attracted you to from the video. What am I talking about? Well, media coverage, I'm talking about exactly what it is. Media articles, media stories, interviews, all those different things. Now, I'm going to, stick with me here. I'm going to sort of tackle this from two different perspectives. Firstly, we as fans need the media. We need the media to cover the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's how we're going to get our daily fix outside of fan-based, YouTube, Instagram pages, websites, blogs, other article sites, exactly like what this channel is. It's a fan perspective on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I try to be informative. I try to give you news. I try to give you stats and analytics that other people don't want to cover necessarily because they're covering, if it's NFL media, they're covering other teams. If it's Steelers beat media writers, they are having to cover these different things and all the different various interviews that they do at OTAs and mini camp and training camp, and locker room chats and all of that. I don't have access to that. I've got another job. I live on the other side of the world. But I do have access to information that a lot of people skip over. And that's how we build our audience. And I'm really thankful for all of you out there, especially our subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, consider clicking that bell icon and becoming one. Thank you to all those that are subscribers that are watching this right now. But we do need the media. We do need them. They've got that access. We do need them as part of our Steelers fix. The media also have a hard job, right? I know, and I'm going to talk about this from a Steelers media perspective. I know media is a very divisive thing, particularly in the United States and other parts of the Western world as well, even here in Australia where I'm based. But I'm going to talk exclusively about Steelers media. I studied to be a sports journalist. That's what I started out. That's what I wanted to be in school. It's part of the reason why I have this channel in the first place. It's because I want to give back to the Steelers community with the trained skill that I have. I chose a slightly different profession, still in the media world. And media do have it tough. It's a very hard thing to break into. You're only as good as your last article. You're easily criticized. Often media of all different kinds get given false or slightly misleading information. And then they're put on then they're put in this tough position when they report something and everyone jumps on them and says, you're wrong about this. And they don't necessarily know. Other media sometimes die on a hill. I got into a big battle last year, with a particular member of the former Steelers beat writer who's now with Steelers.com, Dale Lolly. I got into him on Twitter because he incorrectly designated James Pierre, but then was assuring everyone that James Pierre had made the roster. And he didn't actually get brought back on that contract. He did get brought back at a vet minimum. And he was off contract when it was said that he was. I just pointed out that he was off contract. I was told that he wasn't, that he was a restricted free agent. I'm like, yes, but that still means he's off contract. And we got into it a little bit because he doubled down, and I was like, well, that's actually false reporting. And I thought it was an issue not because it was Steelers media writer, but because he wrote for Steelers.com, and that's factually incorrect from someone employed in some capacity by the team. But back to the media. The media do have a tough job. The media in general, are having it very difficult at the moment. It's a very different shake-up in the digital media landscape. Advertising dollars are hard to come by. And it's a lot of media out there are based on clicks because that's where the advertisement revenue comes from. So they do have to have catchy titles. We have to have catchy titles and catchy thumbnails. I'm very keen on making sure this channel is not clickbait. But we want you to obviously click and watch it. If I do some boring ass thing, you're not going to watch it, right? So I will say this, media have it tough. But at the same time, I feel like the Steelers players are getting a rough go. Now, this week I wanted to do a video, and I probably still will do one on Payton Wilson. One of the reasons I wanted to do Payton Wilson is because I think he's going to be an exceptional player this season and into his rookie contract, particularly if he can stay healthy. But I am goddamn sick of everyone talking about his injuries. Everyone knows I didn't want him selected in the first round. I didn't want him selected in the second round. Getting him in the third was a steal. I didn't want him in the first or second because of the injury concerns. That made him my number 2 inside linebacker. I had Junior Colson ahead of him because I trust Junior Colson's production, where he's come from, and I trust his injury history. But when you get Payton Wilson in the pick in late in the third round at like pick 94, 98, since 98, that's an absolute steal. But can we not ask the bloke every time he gets interviewed, have you been injured? How are your injuries feeling? Like how long has it been since you've been injury free? I'm goddamn sick of it. The Steelers picked him. He's not been injured for 2 years. Let the freaking dude play. Like, that's number one. The next one was this week with Cam Heyward, talking about his not telling the Steelers what he is and isn't doing. And then Cam Heyward calls out Gerry Dulac and says, geez, just because I don't answer your text doesn't mean I don't communicate with the team. You will not slander my name. Now, something's gone awry here. Something's gone awry because I'll tell you what, working on the different side of the fence, the media, working in the media PR landscape, which I do, quite honestly, like if I was Bert Lawton, the Steelers VP of comms and PR and then manages all that, and he's got a team underneath him, I wouldn't necessarily want my players communicating without me knowing directly to the media either. So perhaps Cam Heyward was told, don't respond to anything. Let us handle it. Let that all play out. That may be the media strategy from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if it is a good one. But Dulac's written something, Dulac's heard something, and Cam Heyward's felt the need to call him out. And this is a really interesting thing about the digital landscape and the digital media landscape that we have today. The difference is that a lot of players do have podcasts. They've got this way, social media and digital platforms have allowed anyone to be what we call a citizen journalist. Anyone can come out there with that stuff. And so Cam Heyward does have a platform, not just being a player and being able to front the media. And he's called Gerry Dulac out. Now, Gerry might have been given some average information. There's times earlier on in the off-season that there was a rumor that Gerry got given the wrong information, and therefore they leaked other information to him early. You've heard that, but I've heard those rumors around the traps as well. Putting that aside, clearly Cam Heyward's frustrated by it. And clearly there's a lot of hype around the team. And Cam Heyward seemed a bit frustrated by a few things last year with the media. But in this case, he's got freaking every right to be. This affects his contract negotiations. It affects his profile, his image with fans. A lot of the fan base, a lot of you out there don't think he's worth the $22 million this year. Do I think he's really worth $22 million? Probably not. Do I think we should play him less than 15? No, I don't. Now, that's different to what, Marky D, who I do some shows with. We've got a live coming out that, tomorrow night, or tonight, Pittsburgh time, tomorrow day for me. We're going to be doing a live show. I know he's really been on Cam Heyward back and just watching the guy play. I know my co-host on Steelers Global Perspective, Shannon White, thinks he should be on a much cut price deal, but that the Steelers don't really have any options this year. Everyone's got a different opinion, but Cam's entitled to a bit of that respect. Again, this is not attacking Gerry Dulac because he's been probably given some false information. Let's go to the Steelers linebacker Cole Holcomb. Now, Cole Holcomb, I'm pulling up an article here, which is basically from a news aggregate website that pulls things in. But this article talks a few different perspectives throughout this article about Cole Holcomb. In the last few days, we've heard Cole Holcomb won't play this year. Cole Holcomb might be cut for his salary cap. I actually think the dead cap hit makes it silly for them not to try and let him play. But I have said since the get-go that, along with Shannon White, my co-host of Steelers Global Perspective, that Cole Holcomb probably isn't ready for the start of the season. And the last few days, you've heard rumors. I know Arthur Motes and Deke covered it on their channel around the Cole Holcomb not playing this year, and whether he would, whether he not, whether he wouldn't. And that's just one of those weird. Oh, we've got an ad playing. That's just one of those really weird concepts because now they're saying, it's more than just the knee injury that we saw, and it isn't quite clear. And I've heard rumors about nerve damage, thrown out in the comments of our channel. But this article I found really interesting because what it said was that Brooke Pryor, when appearing on the Adam Gold show, obviously Brooke Pryor being the Steelers beat reporter for ESPN, said, my understanding is it's not just a simple ACL tear, and they're being very vague on what the specific injury is. Fine. A lot of the injury designations are vague in the NFL. She said that Holcomb's return timeline isn't quite clear. Okay, that doesn't mean he's going to get cut. Then the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, this is this article, I'm just reading verbatim. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Ray Fittipaldo argued on May 8th that at the very least, it doesn't appear the veteran linebacker will be available at the beginning of the season. Based on free agency, their moves in free agency in the draft, I'm betting they are not counting on much of a contribution from Holcomb this season, if at all. If Holcomb plays this season, I don't think we'll be in the season. Okay, but at this point, right, they went and got the best inside linebacker with one of the biggest problems on the team last year. And they went and got that guy in Patrick Queen. Big tick box. They also lost Quan Alexander. They had to do something. They went and got the best guy. We're all thrilled as Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Then you have the best linebacker for most draft nicks fall into the third round, and you go get him. I don't think you can say the moves on free agency in the draft are exactly meaning that Cole Holcomb's injured, right? Atlanta Roberts is a very good run stopper. Atlanta Roberts played better in coverage last year than we expected him. But Cole Holcomb's an all-round running back. Ideally, you would let Payton Wilson work his way into the lineup, whether that's 6 games, 16 games, early next in year 2, whatever that is. But having 4 blokes with Holcomb and a Landon Roberts mid-season fighting to be the 3rd linebacker is a very good and very deep linebacker class. That doesn't mean we just cut the blokes. Like, that doesn't mean that Holcomb's definitely injured because they signed Patrick Queen and Payton Wilson, right? But this is, I'm just accumulating 3 different things. And then Steelers Depot, Alex Gazor reported on March 19th that Holcomb posted a workout via Instagram, but the workout involved just his upper body. How quickly Holcomb is working out his lower body again could impact whether he remains on the Steelers roster. Right. Now, it's funny, this was actually written by Dave Holcomb. Funny. But ultimately, when we look at this, Holcomb is just over 6.5 months removed from a very serious knee injury. Of course, he's probably not going to be doing this. He was apparently walking around fine during OTAs, even though he's not fully participating. He doesn't have to participate in terms of where he's OTAs, optional training, right? It's optional. They do not have to do that. It's better if they do. We want them to. But it's not like it's like, oh my God, it's Holcomb's not there. That doesn't mean he's going to be cut. But going back to the point of this video, do I feel as a fan that sometimes we need to reset what we're covering from the media? Possibly. Because when I look at this channel and I wanted to keep growing, and I look at like Mark Davison, Steeler Nation Australia, and I look at, some other, Steelers DB out there, State of the Steelers, Daniel J. I can go on a lot of them. You guys are really interested in this stuff because you want to hear things that are about the team, that are pro the team, and not clickbaity. And it is really, I think it's media in a difficult spot. But I just feel like the last few weeks, the last 6 weeks, man, some Steelers players are getting a rough trot of it, eh? So I'm hopeful that now that we're getting into OTAs, and then we'll go into training camp, and then we'll be in preseason, and then we'll get into the season. I'm hoping some of these narratives can just focus more on the on-field stuff rather than everyone trying to find this latest scoop about something to do with the Steelers. And if we are looking for a scoop, we're looking for something super interesting, like Minka Fitzpatrick's playing a totally different safety role in this game or set, or Benton's killing it in Cam Heyward's absence. Like, there's different ways we can look at this. But as I do say, like, for fans out there, you've got to appreciate the predicament that media are in. But as a fan, I kind of would like to see the Steelers get cut a bit more slack. But look, let me know in the comments, and this is going to be a little bit divisive, I know. Let me know in the comments, do you think the media are really unfair? Are they just doing their job? As a fan, do you want to see more of this sort of stuff? Or would you rather just hear about, like, obviously not fake, but you just want to hear about, like, the positive message, get the insights, keep it super objective, and move on with less speculation? I'm really interested in that because I feel like the narratives out there, have become very speculative around players. And I kind of feel like a few Steelers have been given a rough trot, as I say, in a very short space of time. But at the end of the day, the media is there to get the information out, and they can go off the information that they're given. The challenge is, if they say and prove that they're being given wrong information, they could be blacklisted by the Steelers. So it's a very difficult challenge. But as I say, let me know your thoughts and views on this topic in the comments, because it's a bit of a challenging one all around. But in an ideal world, what would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? As always, go Steelers.